Oh, yeah. Good morning. Welcome to Unity. Come on in. Don't just look. Come on in. Don't hold back. Allow yourself to come in and be fully present. Bring yourself and everything in your life into this time, into this place. Everything that's going on in your life and everything that you know is going on around us. Let's bring it all into this one presence and one power that is absolute goodness. So we come into unity. And one of the things that we affirm about unity is that our God is love, our race is human, our faith is oneness. Our God is love. Our race is human. Our faith is oneness. And in that faith, we come together with churches everywhere, all denominations. We come together with all spiritual traditions, all of the ways that humanity opens itself to the presence of something greater. We come together with everything, everyone, in openness and receptivity. So settle in. Why don't you consider for a moment, what is it that you bring here? What is it that you bring here into this presence of infinite love and wisdom? So as the prayer box is being brought up, bring up in your mind your prayers, your dreams, your needs in this field of infinite love and wisdom. How's it going for you? Anything that you need to work on? Anything that you would like to be a little bit better? Relationships, health, finances, a sense of purpose and direction. This is a place where we can look at that. We've been talking about healing in a very wide context. Healing as the process of establishing the potential that's within us. Healing not just from injury and disease, but healing from poverty and from disorder. Healing from conflict and fear. Healing from confusion and doubt. We do that by applying spiritual principles, by knowing the truth and then stepping out in that truth and practicing it, by exercising spiritual principles, managing spiritual energy. Spiritual energy is available to us. Spiritual energy is available to us. There are many, many models, human constructs to try to understand spiritual reality. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. You know, the many different names of God in Hinduism. the many qualities of God, all the different spiritual and psychological archetypes. Within unity, one model that we have is the Christ within, the uniqueness within, that presence of God that is within us, that gives us direction and purpose and creates our identity. We light this Christ candle here for that. We also have another way that we think about the activity of God, and that's the 12 powers of humanity, 12 different qualities of the Holy Spirit. We light 12 candles up here to acknowledge that. There's a power within us. There's a power in you. And that power is creative, is healing, is prospering, is purposeful. There's a reference in a number of stories in the New Testament where the crowd that was around watching what Jesus was doing said, "Did you hear what he said? Where does he get off doing that? He speaks as if he has some spiritual authority." Yeah. He had spiritual authority. His words had power. You have spiritual authority. Your words have power. Your thoughts are creative. Your actions can make a difference in your life and in the world. So, he knew who he was. When we know who we are, we have authority. When we know that we are a child of God, when we know that we are agents of the Most High God, when we know that our being is spiritual, that we're spiritual beings in a spiritual universe doing spiritual work, health and wealth and happiness and purpose are possible. The realization of our identity, of who we are, connects us with truth, connects us with reality, connects us with creative potential. And we discover the power to heal, the power to create. So I've been talking about healing, different techniques of healing, different understandings of spiritual healing. Some of them seem to contradict each other. Paradoxically, differences are true. Both sides, all sides. There's a variety of truth, of spiritual understanding that are effective, that work. What's important is that we know what spiritual truth we have. We know what we believe, that we are clear about what works for us. We have an absolute knowing with no need to explain to other people why we know that this is right for us. That's called faith. The inner knowing, the absolute certainty of something that might be difficult to explain but doesn't require explanation. And faith is the power that enables our thoughts and our words to make a difference. Just speak the word with power and with authority. Well, the word for today is no. It's a powerful word. I'm going to talk about healing based on no. Based on one of the 12 powers. The power of, different names for it, release. The power of renunciation, the power of elimination, the power of denial. We use denial in the sense of taking away the power of something rather than pretending that it doesn't exist. That's a spiritual power that heals. Now, we hear it a lot. Let go, let God. Denials and affirmations in Unity's tradition. You know, the kinds of prayer we use, denials and affirmation. We need both of them. We need the letting go and we need the letting God. They both have power and they depend on each other. But within our tradition, well, when I was in ministerial school, we had a lot of attention talked about affirmative prayer, and almost never was releasing prayer, elimination prayer. Almost no attention was given to denials. Because we want to be positive, okay? Because we know that the positive works. Well, if you make room for the positive by clearing out the debris through releasing, it's a lot more effective. And sometimes all you need to do is to sweep it out of the way. Charles Fillmore said, use denials like a broom sweeping out cobwebs, and use affirmations by declaring a powerful word of truth. So we've heard, sometimes we're a little, I know, I'm sometimes uncomfortable with saying no. We've heard, don't judge, lest you be judged. Okay, so we think about judgment of saying, no, somebody, bad dog, you know. Sometimes we need to say no. Jesus said, let your words be yes and no, yea, yea, nay, nay. It's hard for me to say no sometimes. A couple weeks ago after the service, a young man came up to me and was asking for some money. We were locking up the church. Now, I'm a soft touch, okay? And even though Bernie was behind me shaking her head, and Nancy was saying, no, we don't do that, I went ahead and gave him $20. And then I was thinking about it for a long time. It's like, okay, I've got a service coming up about saying no. Hey, I should learn to practice what I talk about, practice what I preach. It's an interesting process to have the nerve to stand up in front of you and talk about God. Okay? So that opens me up to some interesting experiences. I had another opportunity to say no. This was I think it was last week. I had been finished cutting the grass, and I was a little sore. I had a backache, and so I was sitting in the bathtub full of Epsom salts. And it felt so good. And I heard on the storm door. So my front door was open, but there was a storm door there. And I was like, I'm in the tub. Okay? No, I'm just going to ignore that. Even louder. No. Let it go. No. And the third time was even louder and even longer, and I thought, well, maybe there's some sort of emergency going on. So I got up and I put on a robe and I went out to the door, then opened the door, and there were 3 people standing there, and they said, "Hi, I'm Pastor Bob. And this is my associate, Pastor Jim. I didn't say, oh God, I didn't say, I could have said, I already have a church home, but sometimes that doesn't work. They say, oh yeah, what church is that? You know, sometimes you have to be careful with these evangelicals. Like when they say, have you been saved? You know, the best thing to say immediately is absolutely, yes. And then they'll ask you about it and say, now that's a deeply personal thing and I don't want to talk about it. Okay? Otherwise, they'll get into an argument. But anyway, I didn't say that to them. I didn't say, what do I often say? Sometimes I'll say, what church are you from? And da-da-da. I just looked at them and said, go away. And it came out real, it wasn't loud, but it came out with a sense of power. And they went, and went away. And then I thought, oh, that's the power of release. That's the power of saying no. So there's freedom in the words of I release, I let go, or it could be no, it could be go away, be gone, get out of here, scram, split. Just make space. Open up the space by taking the power out of the clutter that would seek to clutter up our lives. So we do say no a lot. I was thinking I do say no a lot. I say no to impulses. I'm going to go out and get a half-gallon of ice cream. No, okay. So I say no to do things that are appropriate and to not to just give in to my impulses. To create some self-discipline. We say no to certain behaviors in our culture. We say no to criminal behavior. We say no to, the light turned yellow. I'm going to speed up. No, slow down. In meditation, I say no. Thoughts come up that want to get my attention, and I say, no, I'm going to bring my attention back here. Or, no, I'm just going to watch the thoughts rather than give in to them. A lot of spiritual traditions have techniques, practices around denial, fasting, silence, not talking, celibacy, poverty. It takes a special person to agree to that and to practice to it. And there's no denying the power of that. You can deny the universality of it, but it works for some people. We need to find what works for us, how we apply the power within ourselves. So, there's some stories about this in the New Testament. Healing stories, there are a lot of healing stories. Healing stories where Jesus says a word, where Jesus touches somebody, where Jesus says, your faith has made you well. But there are stories where he frees people from unclean spirits, from demons. Okay, so let me say something about demons. In some ways, they do exist. There's a lot of different kinds of spiritual energy that have been created in a lot of different ways. But within this whole context, there's only one presence. and one power. In the universe and in our lives, absolute goodness. There is only goodness. And so whatever seems to be aberrations in that goodness exists within this field of absolute goodness and unconditional love. Okay? So, there is no supernatural power of evil at war with God. There is only God. There is only good. But there are some things that would confuse us, distract us from it. Things that seem to have some energy. It could be called, some of the names for demons are rage, greed, hatred, shame, jealousy, racism, selfishness. Some other demons, unclean spirits, might be called cancer, COVID-19. Where'd they come from? That's a big question. More important question is, what do we do about them? We say, go away. They are ideas that have been held in mind to the point that those ideas have gotten some energy to them. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday, Papa Charlie. He said, ideas that you and your ancestors have held in mind have become thought currents so strong, have become thought currents that seem to have an existence of their own. Thought currents that he called thought people. They will not be turned out unless your ego decides to cast them out and erects gates that prevent them from coming back. That's not one of his more famous quotes, but it's relevant. Thought people, cast them out. Okay, how do you do that? Well, there's a pattern in the in 3 healing stories. This is where the people said, he speaks as if he has authority. So, this is a how-to. Claim authority. Have a consciousness to command. Be grounded in the connection with the divinity within you and speak from that presence and power within. Centered and poised in the mind of Christ. And in all of those stories, Jesus said to the unclean spirit, "Come out of him." And he did. Commanded them, come out. I can say, go away. Get out of here. You don't belong here. Go back to wherever you came from. In one of the stories, the spirit said, don't throw us into the abyss. Like they believed in an abyss. And they said, put us in those, let us go into those pigs over there. And it says, he gave them leave. He said, okay. And then the pigs charged off into the lake, into the sea, into the oneness. The other stories, it didn't say, he didn't send the spirit anywhere. He just said, come out of there. Go away. Where's a way? Where's a way? Someone asked me that. I mean, that's a classic environmental thing about trash and recycling. If you're going to throw something away, there is no away. It's here. Okay? There is no away. There's only the oneness that we share. And so, where does this unclean spirit go? Send it into infinite love and wisdom. Send it to God. I found a Catholic rite of deliverance, of cleansing, casting out demons. And one of the things they say about this part is, what you say is, I send you straight to Jesus, that he may do with you as he will. Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty strong. That's not quite unity. So I would say, turn it over to God. Turn it over. Release it into infinite love and wisdom, and don't worry about it. Let divine order, let divine wisdom take care of it. Our only part that we need to do is to say, get out. No, not here, not now, not ever. And then the next thing is, like Fillmore said, erect gates that will prevent their inflow from external sources. You know, Charles Fillmore's not the easiest person to read. You need to really spend a little time with him. That's a little reference to a story that Jesus told about a woman cleaning her house. She drove the unclean spirits out of her house and was like, oh, it's so nice to have this space, to have this peace here. And the unclean spirits roaming around and said, this is miserable out here. I'd love to go back to that house. And he found some friends and came back, and her situation was worse afterwards. You need to erect gates. You need to say something like, no more. You need to fill the space with positive energy. That's where the affirmation comes. And so when you send something out, what do you want to put? You want to put the opposite. You want to put the positive in its place. And so when you cast out a disease or a negative belief system, what's the antidote? What's the spiritual antidote that meets that need? So you bring that in. Okay, so you have an unclean spirit that you know about? You have a little demon that sits on your shoulder and tells you stuff? You have a dark, confusing form somewhere that's interfering? You have disease, disability, fear, depression. Last week, I think, or the week before, we talked about really give some attention to it. Name it. Be clear what it is. And so you need to do that here. What is it? What's the name? Be clear about what it is, and then look at it. You got one? What is it? Be honest about it. And then from the presence of God within you, from a consciousness to command, say, go away. Do that now. Thought, you don't have to say it out loud. It doesn't have to be loud, just clear, just from that place of faith within. Go away. No. Go to God. go to infinite love and wisdom, you are not welcome here. What goes in place? What takes its place? Casting out a disorder or disease, bring the energy of divine life in, health and vitality. If conflict, bring in the energy of love that works things all together for good. Bring in the energy of order, peace, and justice. You have an idea about lack, poverty? Bring in an affirmation of abundance, limitlessness, unconditional good everywhere present. Bring in a spiritual practice, a practice of recognizing and spending time in that presence and power of goodness. We're going to do that now with a meditation. We're going to do a meditation of releasing and receiving. This is probably more a guided visualization than it is a traditional spiritual meditation. But it's powerful. It's one of my favorite, and I do it all the time whenever I'm around flowing water. So, imagine that you're by a bridge or a stream or a river where water is flowing. And go into the middle of that bridge, or go into the middle of that stream, or stand on a rock or an island, but be in that flow. You have a sense of the flow of the water there, and that's a reminder of the flow of spirit. Now, face downstream. Look downstream so that the flow is moving away from you. And say, I let go. I let go. There's an energy that is available to carry away anything that you want to release. What would you say no to? What would you say go away to? I no longer need you in my life. Let every exhalation turn something over to that cleansing flow. Let every out-breath free you of something. Turn it into that flow away from you into infinite love and wisdom. Notice your breath. Notice your exhalation. Let each exhalation say something about, I release. I let go. I am free. Feel the flow of spirit cleanse you, free you. Now turn. Turn to face upstream. Come to the other side of the bridge. And open yourself to receive a flow of limitless good, possibilities, healing, vitality, abundance. Breathe it in. Breathe in the goodness of God. Breathe in the love and the power. Breathe in the life and the wisdom. Receive it. Focus on your inhalations. And you might claim it. I receive the breath of life. I am whole, well, and free as God created me to be. Let your mind respond with an affirmation of claiming and receiving the good. And now sit with that flow. Let your breath move on its own, effortlessly, receiving and releasing. An easy breath. And ease and grace. A sense of peace, of being in this unconditional love. Divine life, abundant good, infinite wisdom. Just be there with that flow. Suspend your thinking for a moment. Let things be quiet. Just let your breath continue to move and just be. Just be with that flow that frees you and fills you with goodness. Spend some time there in the silence of pure being. Notice the energy that is with you. Notice what this time of meditation has done for you. Remember what you did. Remember those steps. You can return to this state of peace. You can return to this condition of being charged with energy, free of limitation, filled with possibility. Deeply connected with God. You might claim it with an affirmation. I see clearly with the light of divine wisdom. I'm deeply connected to the prospering love of God. Mighty currents of God's healing love flow through me now, making me whole, well, and free, just as God created me to be. Deepen your breathing and feel the vitality of being fully alive. Feel the energy of being a child of God, heir to God's kingdom, the Holy One of God, here to say something, to do something that is yours. And allow the words and the music of the Lord's Prayer to bring you fully back to here and now, to where you are and who you are and what is yours to do. Amen. This is the time in the service when we have a love offering blessing. When we bless not only the gifts that we would give in support of this ministry, but we bless the gifts that we would give in support of life on earth, in support of our families and our neighborhoods and our entire being. So we give of ourselves. We open ourselves to be a conduit through which God's love and abundance and life flows. One love offering blessing that I like is, I give joyfully and easily, for God is my source. Abundance is my nature. I give joyfully and easily, for God is my source, and abundance is my nature. And now we give a blessing to the world with a prayer for protection. We give a blessing to people in pain. We give a blessing to people in arrogance. We give a blessing to people in fear. We give a blessing to everyone by declaring these words of truth for all of us. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Peace. Let there be peace. Shalom. Have a blessed week.